Hey everybody, it's Ian the Off Kilter Crafter. I hope you're having a great day today. I've been spending today laying out by the pool, and it has been a very enjoyable summer day, even though it's been 100 degrees here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But I wanted to come in quickly and cool off and put together a fun summer card that uses some inspirational colors from Ranger. So stick around and let's go ahead and put this card together. Before we get started today, I did want to talk about the lovely palette knives that the Art Sherpa sent me. I do have to give a disclaimer, these were sent to me for review and for use, and I'm super excited to use them. They are going to help me out a lot. Today's project is going to be using texture paste, and so a lot of times when you're using texture paste you want to use a palette knife in order to scrape off the texture paste onto your project and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be using those today with today's project. I'm also going to be using some Distress Oxides and Squeezed Lemonade, Spiced Marmalade, and Mermaid Lagoon. I saw a post on Instagram from Ranger that really got my creative juices flowing, and I liked the idea that they were doing. They were using these three colors to represent summer, and I like the combination, so I decided to take on the challenge and make my own card using those colors. So I'm only going to be using one of the palette knives today, but I absolutely love the palette knives. I love that they're red. I don't know why that makes me so happy. They are very flexible too, but also very sturdy, so it doesn't feel like you're going to be breaking them, or as you're scraping across a material you're not going to hurt them or hurt the material. They're very soft, and I really like them. I really think this is going to be a good tool that I'm going to use for a long time to come. So I'm only going to be using this one today, so we'll go ahead and set the other ones aside for now. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and get my project all set up. So I have a piece of Neenah Solar White 110 pound cardstock. And I'm also going to be using this Stampers Anonymous Tim Holtz collection. It is a stencil. Which one is this? Shoot, I hate it when I can't easily determine what it is. It's THS002 is the official number for it. I don't think it has a name that I can see, but we're going to be using this stencil today to layer onto the card. And you will notice that my card is a little bit bigger than the stencil, but that is perfectly fine. I'm also going to try and center it as best as possible across the what is that, the vertical axis, because I want to try and get it in there as best as I can. I am going to use some very large 2-inch wide tape, blue tape, painter's tape, to help protect the top of my project, because as I am working I don't want to inadvertently get that texture paste on the top of the card where I don't want it, and this is the fun part. Ouch! Not really, just kidding. Whenever you're using blue tape, I typically will put it on my arm and make it a little less sticky, so that way it's a little easier to get it off. And I'm going to line this little bit up with the line of my card. So basically the part where the card folds over is where I want to mask off today. Don't think I got that exactly straight, but it doesn't matter too much. Ugh. I love the Ken Oliver mat, but sometimes it makes it more difficult to get projects up. So, alright, I'm going to set this over here for now, because I'm going to be mixing my texture paste over here. We'll grab a few more pieces of blue tape to just help hold down the stencil until we're ready to use it. So I think I'm going to center it right about there. We'll just put a piece of blue tape right across there. Put a blue tape right there as well. Alright, that is close enough. That's as good as it's going to get for today. Blue tape does not stick very well to the Ken Oliver mat, which is a good thing because you don't really want anything sticking to your mat, but it also is a hindrance because it tries to come up and makes life a little more difficult. Alright, so we're going to pull out some of this texture paste. This is the opaque matte variety. It's kind of like spackle. You can kind of think about it like spackle if you've never used it before. Spackle, or like a cream frosting for a cake. Kind of think of it in that idea. I don't ever really know how much to use. whenever I'm spreading this out. So since I'm still kind of new to the texture paste, I'm going to use about that much. And we'll go ahead and close up the jar. Don't leave it open. You don't want it to solidify, basically. Next, I'm going to use some of the Distress ink in Mermaid Lagoon. I'm using it in this dropper bottle, so that way I can put it straight onto my texture paste. And I'll put 2 drops there, and we'll start there and see what happens. Remember, always start small. You can always get more if you need it. This is very, very concentrated color. As you can see, it is like really concentrated color. So we're gonna sit here and mix this up for just a moment, and I'll be right back. Alright, I've gotten my texture paste mostly mixed up, and I'm just gonna scrape it off there. And I'm now going to put it right onto my stencil. I'm gonna try very hard making sure not to get it at the very edges, because that area is unprotected right now. So I want to try and avoid those areas, making sure that I don't get the texture paste on those areas. Okay, now that I have my texture paste on, I'm going to go ahead and peel up my stencil. There we go, just like that. Alright, I'm going to go run and wash all this off because you don't want this sticking to your utensils and to your equipment. I'll be right back. Alright, I've cleaned up my area, and I've also cleaned off my palette knife and my stencil. Again, you don't want to let it sit on there for a long time. It is still got some on there. It's not a big deal. It is going to happen. You could probably leave it in water and let it soak for a little bit, but it's going to get stained. It's going to get a little messy, and that's okay. That's what they're there for. So now I'm going to take and peel up my blue tape, my blue painter's tape, and just reveal that crisp edge. Like that. Excellent. And now I'm going to let it dry. It takes a little bit of time to dry the texture paste, so I'm going to let it dry, and we'll come back and finish out the card once it's done. Alright, we have let the texture paste dry and solidify, and it looks really great. I love the color that it came out to be, and I love that you can use your Distress inks and even Distress oxides. You can mix them together into it, and you can get some really great color combinations. So we've done that. We're going to go ahead and move that off to the side and work on the rest of the card. I'm going to use the Life is Sweet and the Stampers Anonymous Crazy Birds set from Tim Holtz. We're going to go ahead and finish up the card. The first thing that I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to do a little bit of sponging of the Distress Oxide in Squeezed Lemonade on some white cardstock, and then we'll do a little die cutting with that. Okay, I've gone ahead and die cut the circle out. It's the Stitch Circle die from Simon Says Stamp. You have the stitches on both the inside and the outside. Great dies for doing all sorts of different projects, and it looks like my cutting plates left some material on it. You know, sometimes that just happens whenever you're crafting. I'm going to keep going with it. If I was probably a really good crafter, I would probably start that part over again. But honestly, I just don't feel like doing it over again. So I'm just gonna go with it. I am, however, going to grab a paper towel and my spritzer bottle, and I'm gonna give a couple spritzes into my hand to get some nice water droplets, and I'm gonna drop it onto my piece of paper just to give it a few little water drops across the surface. Let that sit for just a moment, and then I'm gonna take my paper towel and wipe all that up. Get it nice and dry again. That's kind of cool looking. We're gonna go with that. We're just gonna go with that. And then it was probably a little too much water, to be honest, because I'm not sure that that paper is intended to hold that much, but we're gonna go with it. Wish there was a couple more spots in the center, but I'm not gonna worry about it too much. I'm gonna leave it like it is. And then I'm gonna go ahead and dry this completely before we start on the next step. Next step I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of the VersaFine ink, and I have the stamp on my Tonic Tim Holtz stamp platform. I'm gonna ink it up, get it nice and juicy, ready to transfer over. Man, it really pisses me off that the plate did that, but I think whenever this stamp goes onto it, it should be fine, and it also should help mask that issue. At least that's my hope. Yeah, that worked out pretty well. It's mostly masking what's going on. I am gonna hit it again just to get as dark of an image as possible onto it, so I want really nice dark letters on there. So I'm gonna hit that again with another layer of ink. There, that's better. Alright, we're gonna set that off to the side and get the last bits ready to go. Lastly, I'm gonna stamp my bird image, and since this is a foam cling stamp, I need to remove my lid from the Tim Holtz platform and flip it around so that way it says rubber over here in this corner. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. It says rubber right there. We want to switch it over to the rubber side so that way we have a way to pick up this stamp without damaging the stamp or the paper underneath. I'm going to be using some Distress Oxide and Spiced Marmalade. That's going to be the third color that makes up this card. So we have the Salty Ocean, Squeezed Lemonade, and finally the Spiced Marmalade. And I like stamping with the Distress Oxides using stamps because I feel like the image comes out so much better. Whenever you use Distress Inks, it does not come out as well. They tend to beat up on those stamps, and it just doesn't seem to give you as good of an impression as the Distress Oxides do. See, look how beautiful that image came out. I love it. Absolutely love how easy it is to stamp with these. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it one more time just to get as crisp of an image as possible. Just like this, and we'll go ahead and die cut this bird out as well. Alright, it is now time to bring this card together. We have our base, we have our element with the bird, and then we have the Life is Sweet part of the card. So now it's time to put everything together the way it's going to be on today's card. So I think I'm gonna do that part right there. I think I'm gonna put my little birdie right over here. Just like that. Alright, so now it is, let's go ahead and glue everything down. And I'm going to use my Tombow Extreme Adhesive today to do my putting on of the elements, just to make sure that I'm getting as much adhesive down, because it is going to be sitting on top of the texture paste. And I want to make sure that there's no issue with it coming off. I'm going to put that right about there, I think. Stick that down just like so. And do the same thing to my little birdie. And actually, you know what? I think I'm going to grab my foam squares, or my foam adhesive here. And I think I'm going to actually do that back behind the backside of my bird to give it a little more dimension, make it pop a little bit more off the surface of my card. Alright, so I have my bird all popped up, and I'm going to place him right about here. Perfect. I love how that looks. I like that a lot, so we'll go ahead and flip this card over, and I'm going to use my pair of scissors here to just give it a little bit of a trim. Go. And there we go. There is our finished card using the inspirational colors from Ranger. So sometimes the most unlikely of colors matches up quite well. I think this is a great representational of summertime and summer. If I had had a stamp set that had something that related to summer, such as the word summer or some way to represent it a little bit better in this card, I would have used it, but sometimes you have to use the supplies that you have. So I went with what I had to create this kind of summer feeling card. So I challenge you to use those colors if you have the Distress Oxide or the Distress Inks. I challenge you to use these 3 colors together to create some sort of awesome looking card. Make sure to share it with me over on my social media. Those are all listed down in the description below. So I think that's going to do it for today's video. Don't forget, if you're not already, hit that button down below that says subscribe to my YouTube channel and get great updates by making sure to click that bell icon. That'll send you a notification every time I go live or post a new video, and I've been doing a lot of surprise live videos lately, so make sure to get those notifications to know when I go live. You can also get social with me, like I said, down in the description below. Make sure to go check out my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and more. Make sure to check out all the amazing links down in the description below, and let's get social together. I hope everybody has a great day, and remember guys, normal is just a setting on the dryer. Bye!